Mr. Gill, great announcement this week about the Pirelli World Challenge. New relationship, I shouldn't say new, an enhanced relationship with Stefan Rattel, whose SRO organization, really the forerunners of the GT3 specifications. Tell me about that. I know it's been in the works for a while, but why bring in someone new to an organization that has a lot of history to it and strong foundation already?
Core competencies is what it's really about, Marshall. We looked at Stefan when we went out. We already, as you noted, were working with the SRO and their BOP. Happy, our paddock was happy. Marcus Hazelgrove, competition director, very pleased with it. What we saw as the next step is after we visited him in Misano and looked at the smoothness of how his operation was running. We were very pleased with how the drivers and teams were treated, the communication process, and even when there was a major shunt, as you recall, at Misano in October, the R8 was off, engine torn out of it, very dramatic shunt, that we looked at how that would have been perceived and managed in the States versus what we saw happening in their organization. And that to me was a real tipping point. I saw, here's an organization I want to work with and have part of our team.
Stefan and his organization, I think worldwide, we think of him in GT3 terms. Pirelli World Challenge isn't a GT3 only championship. You have many classes and categories. There are ways where this relationship with him coming, into the board of directors of the World Challenge Vision Group can help the entire organization below GT3?
I think so, because as we touched on, it's customer focused. That's what they do very well, and that's our desire the same way. Whether you're in TCB, TCA, TC, GT, GTS, we want them to be there and be part of it, and it's customer focused. And when I saw, they're pushing their GT4 area now, we're looking at the same type of adoption. And again, it's the customer focus, and it's certainly in mind with what the manufacturers are looking at as well. So if they want to see a class developed, or they want to see customers that are interested in a class of racing, it seems like the SRO is a group that is very responsive to that in Europe and in Asia, and we'd like to, as we've seen the same way at Pirelli World Challenge doing that, so it's a good marriage that way too. So it's focused on the customer, I think is really a key aspect.
Let's do a quick maybe State of the Union with a little bit of year-to-year angle. I think the end of Long Beach last year is a bit of a tipping point for the series. We've gone through St. Pete, which was brutal in terms of crashes and driver etiquette. Long Beach was also not as friendly as we'd hoped. Leaving here last year, you had a very angry paddock. I don't know if the series on the management level was settled. We come back in 2016. I got to admit, a lot of smiling faces. Things seem to have settled down. Am I seeing the right things?
I think you're seeing it clearly, and it's something that I even joked with some people in our marketing meeting that we want a kinder, gentler paddock, but in their series management as well. And the focus has been, we told people that when we saw the change in September with the management change that we made, they wanted to see, the first focus was on competition. We didn't get a lot of complaints about the television program. Certainly there's always comments, but that wasn't the focus. The paddock was in a state of just absolute rebellion and frustration, and it was an exit to the door from sponsors and teams alike, and they were going to vote with their feet. So we knew what had to be our focus was competition. That's what we've worked on. Marcus Hazelgrove and his team have worked around the clock, literally, and it's showing. We're getting fair and balanced performance. You're never going to have everyone happy, but you're going to do your best, and it's transparent. When they have a question, they can come see us, and they're going to get treated fairly, honestly, and that's again where the SRO, BOP, is extremely helpful. You can always have a difference with it, but you know the standard is being used globally. That's very beneficial to us, and I think that achieves and drives that happy paddock. For me, the litmus test is going to be Barber, because we came out of the disasters at Long Beach and St. Pete. We were into Barber, and it was that just, you can ask any of the racers, it just wasn't good. And we weren't happy, they weren't happy. How do you get back to that? So to me, going to Barber and taking that temperature in the paddock is one thing I'm really interested in, to hear how are we doing. I want that feedback so we can move ourselves forward. Looks good so far. Over the last couple of years, we've seen tremendous growth. We want to continue that, but not at the expense of our racers and teams. It has to be something that is good for them as well as good for the business aspect of the series.
Last quick question for you. Pretty cool announcement about CBS televising this weekend's race. Not that I don't enjoy watching the tape delayed events, but I know folks have been able to watch live. That's a pretty cool endorsement as well.
It is. CBS Sports has been a great partner. When we were with NBC and we were happy to renew with NBC, CBS seemed like a better package, and they have certainly proved that with going from 17 hours of coverage for the series when we were on NBC Sports to now looking at over 33 hours of coverage with CBS Sports for the series. So it's good that way. And then the live TV, for a series like ourselves, that's what we want to do next. We want to be live as much as possible. They've made the arrangements here. If we can do it again this year, we will. But you just watch for progression with the series to do more live television. We really appreciate it.